Hey guys, today we'll be taking a look at the newest polls out of the 2020 Battleground states. However, before that, please join my Discord server if you have not. I just launched this earlier today, so make sure you join if you haven't. I think it's a pretty cool place for us to hang out and really chat about anything you guys would like. So make sure you join that if you have not. The link is in the description below at the very top. So make sure you click that link and join my new public Discord server. It really support me and really helps me out. So thank you guys so much if you have joined already. But today we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Battlegrounds map. So first, I'm just going to fill in the solid and likely states for both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. These states, the opposition candidate really should not even try to target. They're not going to win these states. These states are very solid for their respective candidates. And then those are the solid states for Joe Biden. And then now for President Trump, he has quite a few as well. But many solid states from 2016 are not going to be solid for him this time around. Kansas, Missouri not going to be solid, nor is the state of Mississippi, which is pretty surprising. Alabama, South Carolina not going to be solid again. Went to Trump by 14% last time. Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana went to him by 19% last time. This time I think it's going to be a likely state. So 125 electoral votes for President Trump and then 212 for Vice President Biden. And now we have 201 electoral votes worth of toss-up states. I am including the states of New Hampshire and Minnesota who are polling very well for Joe Biden, as we will see. But these states are very close, just 0.3% in New Hampshire in 2016 and then 1.5% for Clinton in Minnesota. So first, the state of Nevada, as you can see, Joe Biden leads on average in the state of Nevada by 6.8%. This is a poll that Donald Trump, or not poll, this is a state that Donald Trump was expected to win in the 2016 election. On election night, Donald Trump was actually leading in the state of Nevada. This is a state that at the end of the day, Hillary Clinton was able to win this state by a margin of 2.5%. And this time around, this was a state that the Trump campaign was going to try to target. But at this point, they should have given up. They were never doing well here. Joe Biden always doing better than Clinton in the state of Nevada. So as you can see, Joe Biden plus 6.8%. That's going to be a lean state, very close to becoming a likely state for Joe Biden. The numbers here for Joe Biden are increasing in the state of Nevada. Following that is the state of Arizona, 11 electoral votes. As you can see, Joe Biden leads on average by 3.7%. It's stayed pretty consistent for the former vice president. He actually did lead by the largest margin ever here by around 5.3% in mid-September. However, now his numbers have dropped down. It is now 3.7% due to this Trafalgar Group poll, which shows Trump plus 4. I wouldn't worry about these polls. Trafalgar Group is a very right-leaning biased polls towards the right, so it's C- rated. I would not really, I really wouldn't take that too seriously, but Joe Biden on average still leads by 3.7%. So it's going to join the state of Nevada into the lean Biden column. And this is a state that, keep in mind, went to Donald Trump by 3.6% in 2016. I think that at this point, this is a state that Joe Biden is almost definitely going to win. However, it's really just a margin. I think that it can definitely go under 1% for Joe Biden. So it's going to be pretty close. But the state of Texas, 38 electoral votes. Very important state for a Trump victory on election night. Trump leads by just 1.7%. As you can see, we have seen a little bit of a surge for Joe Biden in this state once again. I do think that if we continue in this direction, Joe Biden will once again lead in the state of Texas. So Donald Trump is holding on to his lead because of a YouGov poll that shows Trump plus 5. This is also a little bit of a right-leaning poll, much more right-leaning than left-leaning YouGov. That's a B-rated pollster. This plus 7 in Pulse opinion research, wouldn't really take that too seriously. Public policy shows Biden up 1, and then Biden actually led by 2 points in a Data for Progress poll, and then they are even in 2 polls by Civics and EMC Research. So this is a pretty close race here in the state of Texas at this point. The race has definitely gotten close. Donald Trump led by a lead margin at one point. Now it's come back to being a tilt state for President Trump. So the only state on this map, I can tell you right now, that is going to go to President Trump. So that is going to be a tilt state for the president. And then we have the 2nd district of Nebraska. This is currently a state in which Joe Biden is doing pretty well in the 2nd district. As you can see, Nebraska's 2nd district, Joe Biden plus 11. So we're going to put that into the likely column for the former vice president. This is a district that Trump was able to flip in 2016. The state of Minnesota, 10 electoral votes. This is why, honestly, Minnesota really, in my opinion, Minnesota is no longer a battleground state. Joe Biden leads by a full 9% here in the state of Minnesota. This is, really a great lead for Joe Biden. It's a state that Hillary Clinton won by just 1.5% in 2016, and a state that most people did think was going to be pretty close this time around. However, Joe Biden showing again that he is doing very well. Joe Biden plus a whole 9% in the state of Minnesota over President Trump, so it's going to go into the likely column for the former vice president. The state of Ohio we have next. As you can see, Joe Biden leads here by a margin of 1.1% in the state of Iowa. Do I think he's going to win this state? Not really, but if the election is going to continue the way it has, if President Trump is not going to do anything, or Joe Biden isn't going to do anything that's going to really hurt the Biden campaign, I do not think that Donald Trump's really going to be able to pull out the victory here. Definitely, I think that at this point, he's still probably going to win. But if we do continue in this trajectory where Joe Biden continues to increase his lead nationwide and all of that, I do think that Joe Biden is going to have a great chance of flipping the state of Ohio back. As you can see, the two latest polls out of the state civics and Quinnipiac both show Biden up 1 and up 5%. These SurveyMonkey polls just completely ignore. So the latest polls that were conducted after the first presidential debate and in the month of October show Joe Biden up 1 and 5 points. So very, very positive for the Biden campaign. That's going to go into the Tilt Biden column, bring him up to 246 electoral votes. And then we have the Rust Belt. So this is probably the most important region for this election. Joe Biden only needs a Rust Belt and he can win the election along with all of the Clinton 2016 states. For President Trump to win, he would have to win every single toss-up state that was on this map. And not every single one. He would have to win every single one that he won last time, minus, I think, 2 Rust Belt states or minus 2 states. So that's the average for Donald Trump. He would have to win Arizona, Iowa, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida as well. So definitely not a good sign for the president. The state of Wisconsin, it's currently a likely state for Joe Biden once again. Joe Biden's lead has climbed back up in the state of Wisconsin. It did get a little bit closer, 6% for the last couple of months, even down to 5% at one point. However, now Joe Biden leads pretty comfortably in the state of Wisconsin by a margin of 7.3%. He's by 10 points in the latest poll. So that's going to go into the likely column for Joe Biden. Very, very good sign. This is a state that went to Trump by a margin of 0.7% in 2016. Out of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, I did expect this state to be the best showing for President Trump. However, now it's still a likely state. And then the state of Michigan, 16 electoral votes. Joe Biden leads on average here by 8.2%. This is even more surprising. A state that Trump won in 2016 is now polling in favor of the opposition party's candidate by 8.2%. 8.2%. Now, this would basically bring back the Obama-era margins for Joe Biden. Not quite, but still much, much closer to the Obama margin that he saw than what Clinton saw in 2016. I mean, she lost the state by 0.2% still, but I mean, it was still a loss for Secretary Clinton, and definitely this state was one of the key states that cost her the election. So 7.7%, or I mean 8.2% at this point. So 8.2% in favor of Joe Biden in the state of Michigan. That's going to be in the likely column for the former vice president. The state of Ohio, 18 electoral votes. Again, Biden plus 0.9 in the state of Ohio. So polls, the Siena College and New York Times Upshot poll, an A+ radio pollster shows Joe Biden up 1% in Ohio. So this is a state that went to Trump by over 8% in 2016. And I mean, Joe Biden doing very, very well in Ohio. So that's going to go into the Biden column as well, plus 0.9%. And this is not a personal prediction. I made that just a couple days ago. This is just taking a look at the latest polls out of these battleground states, because although polls aren't going to decide what the election results are, they're definitely a good reflection of how the race is changing. And at this point, we see in basically every single state, the race is changing, and it's benefiting Joe Biden in every single way possible. So the state of Pennsylvania, 20 electoral votes. This is Joe Biden's birth state. Joe Biden leads by a margin of 7.1%. This race actually got pretty close. It was within 4% just earlier last month. Now it's 7.1% for Joe Biden. So back in the likely margin for the former vice president. And now he has the highest vote share, basically 50.9%. That's the highest he has ever seen this entire election cycle. So Joe Biden really is peaking nationwide. So that's also going to go into the likely column for Joe Biden. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and now all 4 of these states that made up the blue wall are now likely states for Joe Biden. Now keep in mind, Pennsylvania, Trump won by 0.3%. Michigan, Trump won by 0.2%. Wisconsin, Trump won by 0.7%. And then Minnesota, Hillary Clinton won by just 1.5%. So these states have all shifted drastically, over 7 points to the left in all 4 of these states. So this is amazing news for the Biden campaign. The state of New Hampshire is next. Biden leads by 10.7%. It was pretty close, 6% at one point in the lean margin. Now it's a pretty solid, likely state for the former vice president. So that's going to go into the likely column for Joe Biden. The state of New Hampshire, he might have only placed 5th here in the primary in New Hampshire, but still, he's going to win the state by a pretty strong margin, much better than the 0.3% that Hillary Clinton saw here in 2016. The 2nd district of Maine is next. As you can see, the 2nd district is actually not polling too well for Joe Biden. A Critical Insights poll, CD rated pollster, shows that Trump is actually leading here by a full 8%, conducted from the 25th of September to the 4th of October. So I'm going to put that into the Trump column. I still think that Joe Biden definitely has a chance of winning this state. I put in the Biden column in every single one of my predictions, but I think we might have to change that. But I'll see. This is really only just one poll, so I'm not really too sure. In the SurveyMonkey polls, Joe Biden doing very well statewide. He's also doing very, very well in the 1st district of Maine, plus 32, plus 32. But the 2nd district, the numbers are slipping for Joe Biden. So I'm going to put it back into the Trump column, but we'll see how it goes in the next couple of weeks. This is just one electoral vote, though, so really not too big of a deal. However, the 2nd district is a district that Democrats have carried for over 2 decades in a row before Hillary Clinton lost it in 2016 by a pretty large margin, a likely margin as well. The state of North Carolina, the state of North Carolina, I don't know why I said that, but the state of North Carolina, as you can see, Joe Biden leads by 2.8%. This is also one of the largest margins Joe Biden has seen, basically on 3% at his peak. He's now at 2.8%. Above President Trump at 48.9% of the vote. So in my opinion, it really is not the margin that Biden's seeing at this point. At this point in the race, he's leading in basically every single swing state. And at this point, I don't think it's the margin that he has over President Trump that matters, because Hillary Clinton also saw a pretty large margin. But her height, she really only reached 48% in some states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. It would be good if she had reached 48% in those states. But Joe Biden in states like Wisconsin, 50%, Michigan, 50%, Pennsylvania, 50%. So it's really the 50% mark that Biden needs. Because in 2016, it was basically the undecided voters that were undecided throughout the entire campaign that at the end voted for President Trump. That's what won President Trump the election. Hillary Clinton did not underperform the polls. She even did better in states like, even Michigan and Pennsylvania, I believe. She did better than what the polls said. But President Trump did even better. So if Joe Biden's at 50% and he can win 50% of the vote, there's no way he can lose that state. So that's what Biden needs, that 50% mark. But at this point, I do not think that third-party voters are going to swing as much for President Trump either. So honestly, North Carolina, I do think is still going to go to Joe Biden, plus 2.8% for the former vice president. That is going to go into the lean column now for the first time in quite a while. North Carolina is now in the lean column for the former vice president. Next, we have the state of Georgia, 16 electoral votes. Joe Biden plus 1.4%. And the race is, he led by a poll conducted on the 30th, and then Trump leads in a University of Georgia poll where Trump leads by 1%. Honestly, I can see this race going both ways. Right now, I still think it's going to go to President Trump. But again, if the race continues to go like this, if President Trump really cannot do something, or if Biden does something horrible, I don't see President Trump winning the election at all, and I don't really see him doing well at all in the state of Georgia. I think it really could come down to less than 0.5%, and that would mean a recount. So the state of Georgia is currently polling in favor of Joe Biden by a tilt margin as well. That's 16 electoral votes for the former vice president. And lastly, the state of Florida, it's obviously going to go to Joe Biden. He leads by 4.3% here. The race was really, really close in late September, just 1.8% on the day of the first presidential debate. And then Joe Biden's numbers were able to increase after that, and after Trump caught COVID-19, it's increased all the way up to Biden plus 4.3%. So very good for Joe Biden. He is regaining his lead in Florida. I think that at this point he is going to carry the state of Florida, state that has been pretty close for the last month, but now is looking pretty good for Joe Biden once again. I don't think in recent history, no candidates have really saw that large of a lead in the state of Florida, a state that is always, always very close in every single presidential election. So that is also going to go into the lean column for Joe Biden for the first time in quite a while. So Florida is going to be in the lean column. North Carolina will also be in the lean column. And so basically at this point in time, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania is now polling, 3 states that went to President Trump, is polling better for Joe Biden than the states of then basically these states of Arizona and Nevada, I mean, Trump did win Arizona, but Arizona has been moving pretty far to the left, and we're going to see 2 Democratic senators in this state very soon, I believe. So these 3 states are now polling better for Joe Biden than the state of Nevada, a state that has gone to Democrats for a couple of decades at this point. So that's 374 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 164 for President Trump. Now, what I really want to talk about in this video, or something else that I want to talk about that I think is pretty alarming for the Trump campaign. Take a look at the polls here in Michigan, a state that went to Trump by point 2%. I'm so sorry, I can't think, but so basically this is a state that went to President Trump by 0.2% in 2016. And taking a look at the state of Alaska, a state that went to President Trump by 14.4% 4 years ago. This is a state that Trump leads in by just 4.5%. I don't know what happened there, but basically President Trump leads by 4.5% in a state that he won by 14%, and he is down a full 8.2% in a state that he won in 2016 as well. That was an upset. So the state of Michigan is now so much better for Joe Biden, a state that Trump won, than the state of Alaska is for President Trump, a state that he also won in 2016. So that's 4.5% in favor of Donald Trump in the state of Alaska, a state that has been going to Republicans for decades. The state of South Carolina, Trump plus 5.4%. That's also pretty alarming. The state of Kansas, Trump plus 6.8%. That's even worse. I mean, Kansas, this is a state that is literally in the very middle of the country. And, it's one of the most rural cities in the entire, not cities, it's one of the most rural states in the entire country. So that's plus 6.8 for President Trump. The state of Missouri, plus 5.6 for President Trump. So none of these numbers are good for the president. I mean, these are all solid states. Kansas and Missouri, these are solid states for the president in 2016. South Carolina and Alaska went to the president by over 14%, both of them in 2016, and now Wisconsin better for Joe Biden, Michigan better for Joe Biden, Pennsylvania better for Joe Biden. So these states right here, Kansas, Missouri, South Carolina, and Alaska, aren't even likely states. They're at this point lean states for the president. So that'll be it for this video. I clearly can't talk. Make sure you join my public Discord if you have not. So I'd really appreciate it if you could join that server. It's in the very top of the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like down below as well. Subscribe to my channel if you have not. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, along with any suggestions for videos you'd like to see from me in the future. Really appreciate all of your support, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.